Hello again, everyone, and welcome into MiamiRedHawks.com, a get-to-know segment with the new associate head coach for Miami Redhawk hockey. Eric Rude joins us. And Eric, welcome. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you taking some time here. Let's go back and get to know a little bit about you. Colorado College graduate and a couple of time captain, two-time Defensive Player of the Year in the WCHA. Tell us about your life at CC and also leading up to that a bit.
Well, it was we had a magical 4 years when I was there. It was a great setup. We won the league championship 4 times, went to 2 Frozen Fours, lost to Michigan in the final game in '96 in overtime, which that's still a heartbreaker. I feel the Red Hawk pain of losing a late national championship, so I have that in common with the people around here. But I was very lucky and fortunate to play for some great teams, and that certainly was a fun time. And before that, I played for the Des Moines Buccaneers in the USHL, and I grew up in Minnesota, played high school hockey there, and was fortunate enough to have 2 great years in Des Moines, and that ended up allowing me to get a scholarship and go play college hockey.
Played college hockey, played in the pros, and then a long and storied, really, coaching career thus far. And before I ask you about that, I got to ask, and you know, it can be said for every sport, but hockey seems to me to be that sport that when you start playing as a young child and you start those touring leagues, it demands so much of a young person. What makes that person become this person 30, 40 years that's still involved in the game?
You know what, I think it demands such time commitment to your family and everyone that you feel a sense of responsibility to your family to keep pushing on and do things. You know, there's a lot of 6 a.m. trips to the rink and running around, and you know, I think you just fall in love with the game, and you want to stay in it as long as you can. And then I was fortunate enough to, I always knew I wanted to try coaching. You know, you never know if you're going to like it or not until you get into it. And you know, fortunately for me, I really enjoyed it, and I worked with some great people when I first got in the business that allowed me to grow and learn as a coach, and I've just stuck with it ever since.
And like I said, a great career thus far. Last 5 years, you've been the head coach of the St. Cloud women's program. Before that, you were an assistant at St. Cloud, assistant at Colorado College as well in there, also USHL. Let's talk about the women's program, and it's obviously blowing up. Women's hockey is blowing up. We've got a great club team here that just keeps getting better and better. How was that initial transition to women's hockey, and tell me about the transition that you're going through now after that?
It was really interesting for me as a family guy and someone who really cares about my family. The timing was perfect in terms of when there was time for a change to get into women's hockey. My young boys got to grow up in the locker room at CC and in Green Bay and Colorado College or St. Cloud State before Colorado College, and they got to have great experience with that. So when the time came open for a change to take a women's job, my daughter got to be doing that. So she got to be hanging out in the locker room and doing all that stuff. And it really worked out well for her. She's going to end up playing college hockey at Cornell University, and so she's very excited with that. So from a family standpoint, it worked out great. And from a professional standpoint, it was an unbelievable experience. Really changed me as a coach in a better way. I had to learn how to communicate a lot better, and really get back to the details of the game. On the men's side, when you walk into this program right now, most of these guys we're going to get as freshmen next year have been coached by great coaches, and they know what they're doing. Like you're hitting the ground running, and you're going to mold them, and we're going to do what we want to do here. But the women's game, they're coming in with nothing. A lot of them just had dads as high school coaches or whatever. They had very little coaching. So I can remember my first couple weeks like jumping in and doing some drills and expecting them to know what a overload power play was or whatever, and it was just blank stares. So I really had to go back and redevelop my communication skills, and it's definitely made me a better coach. I really enjoyed my experience with those young ladies. It's funny, people want to talk about the difference between men and women a lot. They'll ask me that question, and I'll tell you what, the group of ladies that I coached for the last 5 years competed just as hard as any men's team I ever had, and wanted to win just as much. It was a great experience, and I really enjoyed it.
Here at Miami, obviously you've had feet on the ground for a little bit of time here, barely on the ground. Tell us about your relationship with Birch and how that developed and how you wind up here.
You know what? It started when I first got into coaching. I was in Cedar Rapids, and if you look back, there was a little pipeline there for a few years of Cedar Rapids kids coming here. Jeff Blashill and I played junior hockey together, and have remained really close. And so when I first got in the business, I knew Blash. And then obviously Blash and Birch were out on the road together, so we got to develop a little bit of a relationship, and so we've kind of run into each other in passing over the years, and then when this opportunity came up, it just felt like a right situation to explore that with him, and it worked out, and I couldn't be more excited.
In the Midwest for the first time as a coach, and obviously I know Birch is probably relying on you for your WCHA days, and obviously with your relationship with St. Cloud State to help out in that area, particularly when it comes to conference play and recruiting in those areas.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the one thing I bring immediately to this program is experience in that avenue, and recruiting kids out of Detroit and Chicago, and been familiar with Toronto, and having coached in the NCHC for 1 year, the initial year, and just being around the WCHA at a high level of hockey, I can come in and kind of hit the ground running, and obviously the USHL is a strong recruiting ground for us, and it's always going to be, and I have great relationships with a lot of those coaches, so I can get it right in and right away, and it won't take me long to get the talent pool down, and we'll be off and running.
Excellent, sounds great. Biggest challenges between now and October?
Figuring out what we have here in our own locker room, and figuring out what we have committed out in the world. We're right now we're just trying to see what we have and see if it's going to fit the way we want to play. So I think that's the biggest thing right now. For me personally, I'm getting settled. All that's going to be good, and now it's just figuring out what we and a lot of it we won't know until the season starts. We won't know what we have in that locker room. Guys that want to jump on board with a new direction and be excited about that. All the guys that I've talked to personally, and talking with Birch and Berry, all the players in the team are super excited, and we really are hopeful that we're going to be able to hit the ground running right away, but we won't know until we get there.
And coaching is really about relationships, and you mentioned your relationship with Birch, Barry Schutte. It seems like this staff is coming together with a great relationship.
Absolutely, and the three of us are going to be real close. We've got to spend some time together, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing this, and I'm really looking forward. It's funny, like in the coaching world, you're always looking for the next job and the next opportunity to be a head coach and do this, and for me right now, kind of in the middle of my career, I'm really excited to jump in and work with the defensemen and get a more one-on-one relationship with the guys again. But when you're a head coach, you kind of step out. It's harder to do that because you have so many balls you're juggling, that now I'm really excited just to dig back in and get to know the guys again and have that intimate relationship with them.
Well, Eric, we appreciate the time. I know the athletic communications person, Chad Twirl, probably won't get you to Skyline Chili, but if somebody else will, I'll take you and teach you the ways of Cincinnati chili here. All right, Eric, thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Eric Rude joining us on this Get to Know segment on MiamiRedHawks.com.